Salute Booktube, welcome to my channel. Thank you for being here. We are at volume 8 of my Celebrating Booktubers series. For this one, I'm gonna do something a bit special. I've mentioned 7 times previously the reasons why I'm doing this. If you want to know why, watch just any one of the previous 7 volumes of this series. But I do want to get right into it because I've got a lot of books for this one and I don't want this video to go on and on and on. But for this one, I do want to celebrate a special cast of booktubers, and they are the hosts of Historathon. For those of you who don't know, this is Historathon 2026. Those of you who don't know what Historathon is, it is a reading event, a year-long reading event in which you are encouraged to read nonfiction history. The founders or the originators of the Historathon event, well, the original originator, the OG of Historathon, and I think they're in their 5th, or I don't know how many years they've been doing this. The originator is Vin at Revenant Reads, and he created this, and it's gone from strength to strength in the years that have since passed. There's also a Discord server that is run and administered by the Historathon hosts, and I think there's 4 other hosts which I'll name. I'll name again. I'll list and I will link below, because these booktubers, they really do deserve celebration. They do this Historathon reading event for really, I mean, I don't know if they profit from it, but they just do it out of their passion for history and reading nonfiction. And it's grown so much. I don't envy them for having to manage this what's becoming a very large, very popular event, but they do it anyway, and they do deserve recognition. So I thought I would do this in honor of them. And I'll name them in a second. The other reason I wanted to do this is because we are approaching Q3 of Historathon. So Historathon is divided into 4 quarters in the year. The first quarter is the beginning of time. You have to read a book based or set from the beginning of time to the year 500 BC. That's quarter 1. Quarter 2 is from 500 BC to 1500 AD. Quarter 3 is from 1500 to 1820 AD, which is the quarter we're in now. This is July 2026, so July, August, and September. And then the final quarter, which is October, November, December, quarter 4, is 1820 to the present. So you have to read a history book or books set in those time periods to really partake in Historathon. And anybody with a booktube channel can, or if you're in the comments, you can, if you're a viewer and not a booktuber, you can participate as well and watch all the many booktubers who do participate in Historathon. So because this is January, so this is a pile of possibilities, reading plan for July, probably August and September. Yeah, pile of possibilities. The other thing I wanted to mention, well, there's a couple of things I want to mention after. The first thing I want to mention is that I want to combine this with a reading event that I had just thought I would do because it's a special occasion. It's the 250th anniversary of America. July 4th, 2026 will be the 250th year of the signing of the American Declaration of Independence. And the fact that American history, at least American, like the history of the United States, the discovery of America, really fits in neatly with quarter 3 of Historathon and quarter 4, because Columbus sailed and discovered the New World in 1492. So that's just 8 years before the year 1500, when Q3 Historathon starts. And all the large early events of American history, the Revolutionary War, well, the colonization and the Revolutionary War, and then even the War of 1812 fits into that quarter 3 time frame. So I thought I would combine the two. I will stick to Historathon Q3 and focus on American history. Now it's just a question of which books to read because I've got a lot and I hope to show them here. I said I'd make a short introduction, but it's already 5 minutes long. Um, there's one more thing that I've just learned very recently, and that's unfortunate, sort of unfortunate, but it's an opportunity I can't miss. But it will mean that I'd have to miss BookTube again. I might have to take another enforced break from BookTube towards the end of July and for a big chunk of August, perhaps into September. So pretty much the month of August is denied to me. That it looks increasingly likely, and that's unfortunate because I had so much American reading history planned for the summer for Q3 Historathon. I have been bigging up this event since the beginning of the year. Now that we reached here, I might not have to, might not be able to participate fully, and it's unfortunate because I've got a bunch of American history books, a lot, maybe too much, and what I wanted to do is read them, keep the ones that are good, get rid of the ones that I don't need to keep in my library, and just cull my library because I do need space, believe it or not. Um, so it's unfortunate because I was hoping to get as much. I don't think what I'm going to show is a pile of possibility. It was going to be impossible to read it even if I had 3 months to do all the readings of all the books that I have here now with me. But now, especially with this enforced leave that I might have to take, it's going to be a very light Historathon and very light American history reading, at least the Q3. I'll probably be back in September. That'll give me a month maybe to do some catch up. We'll see. We'll see. But anyway, despite that, and I'm sure you're all very sad that I'll be gone again. You're probably dancing for joy, popping the champagne cork and all that. But for me, it's sad because I like to be consistent on BookTube. Um, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what I can take with me, what I can read. We'll see because it does again. It involves me traveling. So anyway, so Q3 Historathon linked with American history because again, American history is very much um, synergizes well with um, just the founding or the European discovery of America. Let's call it that, because of course, I don't mean to disparage previous pre-Columbian American history, the Native American very rich culture, um, but again, just to focus, it's about the Declaration of Independence and the uh, newly created American Republic, which is amazing. America, it has a birthday. You can date it July 4th and the year 1776, and that's America's so new. So anyway, so again, we I was talking about the Columbus. I think the first book we should start with the books. Oh, before I do need to list. I didn't list the other Historathon co-hosts. I should by name. So I mentioned Vin at Reverend Reads. He's the founder of Historathon. He'll be linked below. The other co-hosts for Historathon are Justin at Triumphal Reads, Bill at Bill Rutenberg, uh, um, uh, John at John, aka Nicholas of Autricourt, and Debs at Deb Reads. Debs does books. I forgot the name of her. I apologize, Debs, if you're watching this, but she's another co-host of Historathon. They will all be linked below. I'll see if they've uploaded books on Q3. Maybe I'll link to those videos, but just check out their channels. And these are old time, not old. They're not old. They're all young, but they're old timers on BookTube. Just professional BookTubers. They've been doing this for so long. They're BookTubers before BookTube was cool. Like some of them have had channels for years and years and years. So I do want to thank them and I appreciate them for all they do for continuing Historathon, one of my favorite, if not my favorite, event on BookTube. So they'll be linked below. Do check them out. Let's start with the books. I mentioned Columbus. Probably the best place to start. This is Lawrence Bergen's Columbus: The Four Voyages. So it's 1492, if you see right here, to 1504. Um, Again, I can talk about each book, but I'm going to do this quickly because I don't want this to go on and on and on. But 1492 is 8 years before 1500, which is the official start of Q3 Historathon. I think the hosts will grant me that. I've read this; it'll be a reread. Don't know if this will make it, but I did want to just show it. Just a good place to start. The next book is Colonial America. I had read earlier this year, or was it last year? No, I think it was earlier this year. I'm not sure. It was Nathaniel Philbrick's book called. Uh, I even forgot the name, but it was about the same subject, which was King Philip's War. This was an early colonial American war between the settlers, the colonialists of Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, fighting against the natives for land, pretty much for land. American Initially, the American native or American, the European, I guess what you call them, colonialists, and the natives reached a sort of um, what's the Latin term, mondus, a sort of agreement, and there was Thanksgiving and that whole Thanksgiving tradition. But then it quickly turned into recrimination and violence and guns and killing. And so this was King. This is an older book. So the Philbrick book, I wish I still had it. I got rid of it. I gave it away. But I wish I had kept it because I want to maybe read these two side by side because this is an older version of that same war. Really, it's by Douglas Edward Leake, and it's called Flintock and Tomahawk. The subtitle is New England and King Philip's War. And I thought King Philip was some kind of like European monarch, and there was a European war that had some bearing in America. But King Philip was the nickname that the colonialists gave to one of the Native American rebels or freedom fighter, really, who was fighting colonial encroachment into his lands. So, again, I want to go quickly. I can explain, but I have an educated audience. I don't need to explain. I'm just going to show the books. The other book I have, I wish I had the, I think it's close by. Yeah, I think it's close by. I found this in a new bookstore, not a new bookstore, a used bookstore. It's a whole series, but I only found volume 1, and then I found, which is closer to the end, volume 14. But volume 1 is really early America. This is The American Heritage, New Illustrated History of the United States. So this is volume 1, The New World, and again, Columbus is one of Columbus's ships on the cover. And I found volume 14, which is close to the end, which is the Roosevelt era. It's 20th century. So 1 and 14, I have nothing in between. So maybe I'll read this beginning of the Historathon reading American history for the 250th anniversary. Maybe I'll read this last. They'll go good as bookends, I guess. But that's that. Next, I wanted to go into early colonial figures. I have two biographies of one man who's very popular in early colonial America, Benjamin Franklin. This is Walter Isaacson's biography. And then I have this. It's by Walter Isaacson. This one is by George Goodwin, and it's called Benjamin Franklin in London. And I found this really cheap, so I picked it up. It's called The British Life of America's Founding Father. And it says here it was as read on BBC Radio 4. So I think this is a British author talking about Franklin, but it is about Franklin in Britain, because he was pretty much the American colonists' representative or ambassador in the UK, in London, in England or Britain. So this is just his biography while he was in Britain. Again, I don't know if I want to do biographies. I don't know if, again, this is a big biography. I don't know if I can finish this, let alone this one as well. So I don't know. There's quite a few biographies here. I don't know. I might leave biographies for another time. I mean, just stick to histories. So Franklin was a bit of a pre-revolutionary figure, but he also played a role in the revolution. But I think I don't know when he passed away, but he passed away too early to have any political role in the new United States after the victory and the Constitution, if I'm not mistaken, because he would have probably been a candidate for the first president, definitely, or at least one of the first presidents. But again, I think he was a bit older. He was a generation older than the founding generation, if I'm not mistaken. Again, don't quote me. I'm no expert. This is out of my wheelhouse. But the next, we can say, sub topic, or yeah, I guess subtopic or subsubject of this early Q3 Historathon is um, the American Revolution, and its after effects. This is a book I've had it for a long time, and I do really want to read it. I don't know if I'll keep it, but at the time it looked interesting. It's by Merrill Jensen, and it's called The Articles of Confederation. Look at that. Uh, an interpretation of the social constitutional history of the American Revolution, 1774 to 1781. And I think it was a failed experiment before they passed the Constitution. But how many people know about the Articles of Confederation? What if America had stayed under the Articles of Confederation? It'd be interesting to see. Maybe libertarians preferred this. I don't know. We'll see. I think strong possibility for reading, hopefully in July. This is by Cokie Roberts. It's called Founding Mothers. The women who raised our nation. It's as seen on the History Channel. Again, a subject I know little about because they always focus on the founding fathers. Be interesting to read about the founding mothers who played a big role. Is that Abigail Adams? I know about Abigail Adams. I know much less about the others, but yeah, interesting subject. I've got an old book. Again, I've had this for a long time. I do need to get rid of this. Is like 80s. What is this from? The 80s or the 1985 American history book by Edward Countryman called The American Revolution. But it's a pertinent cover. You've got two white farmers, and then you've got the slaves toiling in the background. So an arresting cover, and it's just, yeah, American Revolution, an 80s look. We'll see. It's good to see. There's other American Revolution, Revolutionary War books here, but this is an older one. It'll be interesting to compare it with more modern looks. This is I think again more sort of from the British side. This was a Pulitzer Prize finalist by Nick Bunker. It's called An Empire on Edge: How Britain Came to Fight America. So again, it's got Britain first. So I think it's looking at more of the British view. I don't know if Nick Bunker is British, but again, I've got it again, pretty much the same sort of subject matter. As is this one. This is by Larry D. Ferrero. It's another Pulitzer Prize finalist. It's called Brothers at Arms. American Independence and the Men of France and Spain Who Saved It. So again, if that looks at the more British, from the British point of view, this discusses the French men, Frenchmen, French people, French women as well, I'm sure, and Spaniards who played a role. I think Lafayette comes into mind first, but there's others because it's quite a big book. So again, British enemies who helped America gain its independence. I know Lafayette because I lived in Washington, D.C. I had an internship when I was much younger for about 4 or 5 months. So there's a famous Lafayette Square in Washington, D.C. So, and I believe the person who designed Washington, D.C., the city, because it was a new federal capital, was a Frenchman, if I'm not mistaken. This is another one, The Revolutionary by Joseph J. Ellis, Founding Brothers. So there was Founding Mothers, this is Founding Brothers. Not fathers, brothers. Yeah, The Revolutionary Generation. This one did win the Pulitzer Prize, so I think this one is popular. I've heard that this is a really good book. It's not big, but apparently it's was quite well received at the time. Again, older, but again, I need to clear my American history library, so I need to read these. If it's good, I'll keep it. I don't need tons and tons of books. Just a few is more than enough. But that's another one. And then I mentioned Nathaniel Philbrick. This is maybe the book about the King Philip's War is mentioned here. Mayflower, that's what it was called. Mayflower, A Story of Courage, Community, and War. The Mayflower was the first ship that sailed, or the first colonists who arrived in New England on the Mayflower. But this one is called, I don't know, the cover is really, it's not the nicest cover, but it's Nathaniel Philbrick, and it's called Valiant Ambition. George Washington, Benedict Arnold, and the Fate of the American Revolution. So I think it's just a history, Philbrick's history of the American Revolution. It's getting tedious. I have so many books. This is another one. This one is by David Hackett Fisher. This is a winner of Pulitzer Prize in History, Washington's Crossing. Nicer cover, but this is a famous painting, I think. But the only issue with this book is I found it used as a bit of a damaged. So this would probably be a keeper as a good one-volume American Revolutionary history, but it's not the best condition. So maybe I'll give it a read. It's still readable. Just don't know if it's worth keeping. This is a book maybe I should have shown before as one of the first ones. Still actually in the plastic covering. So I need to read this, but it's by Derek W. Beck, and it's called The War Before Independence. Sorry, there's a glare because there's a plastic covering. It's 1775 to 1776. I should remove the plastic. It's going to take a long time, but it's, yeah, just the year prior to the revolution. What was going on in the colonies? Again, found it for really cheap, but I've yet to read it. So another candidate. Where do we go next? We can go to the actual after the revolution. So maybe this is a good place to start. I've shown this before. This is Ron Chernow's biography of Washington, alive, the first president of the United States. Just his biography. Of course, he was also the commander-in-chief of the the Continental Army, I think is the term that was eventually used to describe the American Army. And this is another book, also still in its plastic covering. And it's called Washington Circle, The Creation of a President. And this is by sorry about the glare, David S. Heidler and Gene T. Heidler. Is this like a husband and wife sort of spouse duo that wrote this book? But yeah, there he is. Again, I think about the Washington presidency. It'd be interesting to see how fair they are, because Washington usually he gets deified, and it'll be interesting to see because it says the creation of the president, but are they gonna talk about the good things and the flaws? We'll see. And then this was a founding father who never became president, but this became very popular because of the Broadway musical. This is another Ron Chernow biography, Alexander Hamilton. Also still in the plastic. These American history books I purchased. There was a time I was reading a lot about America, and then I stopped. So the only issue is I don't like this cover. I think this is the American version cover, which is ugly. After I purchased this, I later saw that there's the British edition, which has a very nice, it's like an orangey color. It's really nice. But I have this one, unfortunately. I'll see if I can find that one used someday and then trade this one for that one, or get rid of that one and keep this one. Although I still haven't read it, and although I've seen the musical twice. Yeah, they came here. And for those of you who are new, I'm based in the Middle East, in the United Arab Emirates, and the Hamilton, the Broadway musical, actually came here. They performed here, so I got tickets and I watched it. And I watched it again. I think I watched it on was it Netflix or Disney? When COVID happened, they were showing it on Amazon, or was it Disney? One of those streaming sites. And then sticking to Hamilton, I have this. It's called The Essential Hamilton. I found this really cheap. There's the price tag there, but The Essential Hamilton: Letters and Other Writings. Just America's Most Controversial Founder in His Own Words is the subtitle. Edited with an introduction and commentary by Joanne B. Freeman. Again, it's not a biography. It's more of his. There's his entries in the Federalist paper with commentary by the editor, Joanne B. Freeman. So, this is also, I think, linked to Washington presidency. This is by Carol Carol Birkin. It's called A Sovereign People. Subtitle is The Crisis of the 1790s and the Birth of American Nationalism. So again, the crisis of the 1790s. George Washington delivered his first inaugural address on April 30th, 1789. So this is, I guess, the Washington presidency again. Will they take affair? Will they talk about the I'm sure there were some good things about the Washington presidency, but like all presidencies, there were flaws. You know, uh, there's our author, Carol Birkin. Hopefully, she'll take a balanced view. We'll see. And then just to conclude, unfortunately, not conclude the video, unfortunately for you, because there's still more to go, but to conclude this sort of revolutionary period, or actually, this is the post-revolution, or again, that same decade, the 1790s, but this takes a much more global outlook at the American Revolution. It's by Jay Wennick. This is one of my favorite books, favorite history books ever. I really highly recommend this. I'd like to reread it. Don't know if I can. It's a big, big book. It's called The Great Upheaval. America and the Birth of the Modern World, 1788 to 1800. Fantastic book. Fantastic book. Can't recommend it highly enough. It's been a while since I've read it. I do need to reread it, but I do remember it being great. So that takes us to, we're pretty much done the Washington administration. The next few books discuss mostly John Adams and Thomas Jefferson. So Jefferson was or I'll leave this one for a bit later. This one is, again, one of these older books. They're in my library. I need to read it and probably get rid of it. But I do want to read it before, although it doesn't have the sexiest subject matter or title. It's by Drew R. McCoy. It's called The Elusive Republic. And the subtitle is The Political Economy in Jeffersonian America. You can see a bunch of cows there. No people, just cows. But a big, is that Monticello? I don't know what that huge mansion is. It must be a plantation. There is a horse-drawn carriage in the background. Interesting. But don't ask me why I have this, but I do. Don't know if I want to keep it, but there's a good excuse to read it. Historathon Q3 and this 250th anniversary edition. Anniversary is a good excuse to read it. I've got this. This is by Christopher Hitchens. These are the Eminent Live series. These are small biographies about historical figures. This one is called Thomas Jefferson, Author of America. Again, small book, small biography. And then this is also about Thomas Jefferson. This one is linked to Islamic World. It's by Denise A. Spellberg. It's called Thomas Jefferson's Quran. Islam and the Founders. I read this, but it's been a while, so maybe I could give it a reread. I don't remember much about it though. I read this like many years ago. When was this from? Yeah, 2013. Maybe was it this? Maybe I didn't read it because it looks actually in mint condition. Maybe I didn't read this, but there was another book with a similar. Anyway, once I read it, I'll remember and I'll let you know. And then sticking to Thomas Jefferson, and one of his main achievements was westward expansion. So I've got this. This is a Signet Classic 200th anniversary edition of the Journals of Lewis and Clark, edited and with an introduction by John Bakeless. And I have this one, which I think was quite popular, and I think there are some booktubers who read this recently and praised it. Stephen E. Ambrose, Undaunted Courage. Meriwether Lewis, Thomas Jefferson, and the Opening of the American West. Yeah, nice cover, very nice cover. You've got the early Americans. You've got a native. You've got probably an enslaved man. Looking forward to reading it. I hope I can. And then just to wrap up on Thomas Jefferson, I've read this. I think I read this twice, so I don't know if I'll read it again. I don't know if I'll keep it. Maybe I can keep one biography for each president, winner of the Pulitzer Prize, John Meekum, Thomas Jefferson, The Art of Power. And a hardcover, very heavy hardcover. And then I should have maybe done this before, but it was in the bottom of the pile. Actually, both of these, but they're from the same author. This is David McCullough, who, I don't know, he won the Pulitzer Prize. His later works I felt were overrated. I thought he won the Pulitzer for Truman. I didn't think it was that great. That's just me. But these ones, they got, I think, better. I think these were better. This one is 1776, which I probably should have shown before. And then I've got this one, John Adams. This is really good. And it was made into a series on HBO. And there it is, the Pulitzer Prize. Excellent biography. And when when a biography of a president is made into a TV show, you know it was a good book. When it was serialized or made into film. I have his other book, The Great Journey, which is about Americans in Paris in the 20th century. And I had another one by McCullough about the Panama Canal, which I thought wasn't really good either. I just didn't think it was good at all. Maybe it's good if you like, maybe I'll show it in a future video. It's, if you like engineering, maybe, but, and finally this book has a terrible, terrible cover. But I think this is at the early days of photography. It's by Ralph Ketchum, and it's a biography of James Madison. He doesn't look very happy there. And not very encouraging, to have this. How are you supposed to encourage people to read American history when you've got a cover like this? Anyway, we're actually, it's still a long video, but bear with me, we're almost done. So those are the first presidents, and then we go into the end of Q3 Historathon, which is, I think, neatly concluded with the War of 1812 and what happened just after that. So these are the books here. This is it's the Library of America. This is one of the few libraries of America I have. Although this is one of a two-part set, or well, I'll show you the book. It's John Quincy Adams. Sorry about the price tag. Diaries, 1821 to 1848, and I think it's it's a 2-volume. The Library of America presents an American masterpiece in a 2-volume reader's edition based for the first time on the original manuscript Diaries, restoring personal and revealing passages suppressed in earlier editions. Volume 2 opens amid the political maneuvering. So I think this is Volume 2. Before I read Volume 2, I do want to read Volume 1. It's just, will I find this? And I found it really cheap. This is my local currency, but don't think I would have got it if it wasn't this cheap. But it doesn't say what Volume 1 is. It's still in its plastic covering, so I do need to get to it, or I'll open it and see what Volume 1 is. But we also have, sticking to John Quincy Adams, this is, although I purchased this in the new bookstore, I just couldn't resist, so I paid full price for this, but at the time it was there in hardcover, it was there in paperback, and I wish I had got it in paperback. The paperback felt much more comfortable. Anyway, you live and learn. It's by James Traub. It's John Quincy Adams, Militant Spirit. Just a biography, big biography of John Quincy Adams. Son of John Adams, who we saw earlier. And then his successor for president, this is John Meacham, who we also saw in the Jefferson biography. This is his Andrew Jackson biography, American Lion. Andrew Jackson in the White House. He's the president who reminds me the most of Donald Trump. Donald Trump, if he has somebody, I think Andrew Jackson is the closest historical parallel. Maybe Warren G. Harding, but I don't know much though about this period. I'm not. I've got another much smaller biography. I found this somewhere in my travels. Symbol of an Age. Andrew Jackson, Symbol for an Age by John William Ward. It's a much smaller biography. I do know it was an acrimonious election, and two very different characters, John Quincy Adams and then Andrew Jackson, from very different backgrounds as well. And then the last three books I have this book again. I found it really cheap, and it's by an American president as the author. It's The Naval War of 1812: A Complete History by Theodore Roosevelt. Um, yeah, just the but the naval war. It's not the complete war of 1812, just the war in the Navy. I think Theodore Roosevelt was the Secretary of the Navy, or was that FDR? Anyway, in either case, this book is, I think, a Canadian author, so this is a much more Canadian view of the War of 1812. But it's the War of 1812, and it's actually a compendium. It's a compendium of two books by this author Pierre Breton, who gets. I heard he's an excellent historian and nonfiction writer, I believe. So this is The Invasion of Canada and The Flames Across the Border. So this is two books in one, big thing. Very happy to have this. Very happy to have it. Looking forward to reading it. Um, and then the final book. Oh my God. It's good I didn't have a long introduction, but this is by Willard Stern Randall, and it's called Unshackling America. How the War of 1812 truly ended the American Revolution. So again, about the 1812, which brings us about 8 years prior to the end of Q3 Historathon, which is 1820. There's two books. Maybe I can just show them. I've got this, but this is, again, it's The Eminent Lives, the same one as the Christopher Hitchens small biography of Alexis de Tocqueville, Democracy's Guide, but it's by Joseph Epstein. But it doesn't just discuss his time in America, it also discusses his time in France, and he became. So I don't know how relevant this is. And this is by a neocon author, Michael Medved, The American Miracle, Divine Providence. Divine Providence in the Rise of the Republic. But it's a small book, but he goes through all of American history, not just the period. So I don't know if these count. I don't know if I'll. But the War of 1812, I think, was a good ending because it's just before the end of the time elapse for Q3 Historathon. Like I mentioned earlier in this video, a long time ago, I don't know how many I can get into these. How many of these I can get into? I would have liked to if I had a full summer just to focus on this, but my August looks like it's going to be a enforced absence from Booktube, and probably not as much reading as I would like to do. So we'll see. I might start with the early small stuff. I will let you know in a future video. Thank you to the Historathon OG founders, the ones I listed: Vin, Justin, John, Bill Rutenberg, and Debs. They'll all be linked. Do check them out. Give them your support. They deserve it for all the work they do for Historathon. But that's enough for me. I'm sure you're tired of looking and listening and watching me, so I'll wrap this up. Thank you, Booktube, and happy 4th of July, because I know the majority of my audience ship is American. So, yeah, salute.